I have, my name is Kyle DeCoste, and I have the pleasure of sitting down here with Virgil Tiller.
Yes.
I will clap for you, Virgil. Walter Ramsey. Andrew the Fessa Baham of the Stooges Brass Band. So we wrote a book that came. You didn't know that, Virgil? We wrote a book that came out September 2020. There's Spug there. And it's on the University Press of Mississippi. The book is kind of a retrospective of the last 20 years of the Stooges' career, kind of bounced off of me, kind of as told through me a little bit, but also throughout the book we have, you know, a lot of dialogue between the musicians, and it's kind of, you know, based off of a ton of interviews that we did over about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, the book has some really beautiful cover art. Thank you, perfectly timed. Some beautiful cover art by a local artist named Jaron the Jerk Beasley. Jaron Jerk Beasley, and it's yeah, it kind of showing the back of Walt's head there, and the Hi-Ho Lounge, with which the Stooges had a residency at for many years. You know, around, I guess, what year would that have been? Over, yeah, about 10 years ago. So yeah, this is the book. We're really happy to kind of get it out in the world. And I guess we're just going to have kind of a conversation. We'll keep it a little bit casual, maybe do a bit of Q&A and open things up. So one thing that I wanted to kind of ask all of you is kind of where do you want the book to go? What do you want it to do in the world? I've asked you this question quite a few times before, but you know, sometimes asking questions at the same time again, you know, gives different answers. And you know, that was certainly true of the book. Yeah, what do you want it to do?
I want it to be turned into a movie. Let's be honest. I mean, you know, actually, I just, you know, I think that is just one of the important stories of the last 20, 25 years of the culture. And I just want everybody of the culture to kind of dig in. And, you know, anyone who has been interested in the culture and, you know, or ingratiated themselves in the culture, you know, I think it's just a literal kind of peek into, you know, how did we get here? And some of the behind, you know, some of the things that you don't see. You know, like the old folks always talk about, you see the glory, but you don't see the story.
Right.
And I think it's, you know, it's a very, first of all, it's a very interesting read. Trust me, you're gonna laugh for days, you know, if you haven't already read it. But I think at the core of it is the, you know, I don't know how to say it, you know, it's just kind of like just the interlook, you know, into what makes, you know, this band what it is, first of all, and more importantly, how did, you know, you maneuver through, you know, because we all kind of know, like, how Jay-Z became Jay-Z, but there's always a certain story, there's always a certain thing that you were like, wow, you did that. I think that's the little tidbits of information that I think everybody would like to know. So like I said, it's a good read, and I wanted to see it in the movie. So.
Speak it into existence?
Yeah, exactly.
Or we just passing it down?
Yeah, you go. I mean, do you have something to say, Walt?
Everything Andrew said, yeah, we want to see it as a movie. It's fun. For me, the book is our life, you know, so we really get to look at it and read it. Like, you don't usually get to read your life. You know, you experience it, but now you go to reading it, it's like, oh man, this is amazing. You know, we did a lot of crazy things. You know,
To say the least.
We've been through a lot of crazy situations, and we survived. We still here together, and it's still crazy. So the next book gonna be even amazing. But yes, it'd be nice to see our story in a movie, and get the check from it.
I mean, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about those early days? What it was like? I mean, because y'all have been in the game since 1996. You're not new to this, and I feel like at least early on, y'all were playing, sometimes $15 a gig. Like it was not easy. I remember talking to both you and Drew about like playing in the projects and having the police roll up on you. Like playing funerals and stuff like that. Like it has not been an easy go.
We survive. Well, yeah.
I mean, while our story is, very unique, I don't think it is. It's totally unique in the grand scheme of things. I heard, some people, at least we, like I look at it kind of like, at least we got paid $15 to do the gig. Some people didn't get paid at all, and they would just get robbed, and so it was, and you knew that it was you were taking a chance, a life chance, for $15, for $15, $20, so I know it's funny. It's funny now because you look back at it and you go, I was in some real danger, and I was in real danger. Didn't even realize it, or I just didn't care enough to say, you know what, is this really worth it? So I don't think we go through. I don't think we're necessarily going through anything that a lot of other people have gone through. Especially the people who made those big sacrifices. To become successful at anything that they do, whether they made $1 billion or, or whatever, or $15. So I think the sacrifice and the wherewithal to say, we're going to keep on going, we're going to keep trying this, through all of the fights, hearing that the other band just got robbed like the day before, and so they calling us to come play the gig in that same spot, and us really trying to react and not even thinking twice about it. We didn't even think twice about it. We was like, all right, let's go make the gig.
Thinking that was a stupid decision.
Yeah. Right. Thinking, but I think that's part of your growth. I don't think that's, like I said, we're still a generation that took the RTA home from school. And if you lived uptown and you went to school downtown, you had to cross Canal Street at some point. So you're gonna see the other kids at Canal Street, we got uniforms on. So you better, hopefully there's enough kids, like that type of thing. So we took those chances on a regular basis. I think part of the thing is I think this generation has, one of the advantages this generation has is that they don't have to deal with it in that vernacular, whereas that, but it taught us, how to be alert, it taught us how to be mindful, it taught us, it taught us a lot of different things. And, when you, at the end of the day, when you look back over it, you'd be like, yeah, I took some wild chances, but there was a lesson to be learned from it, and now you can't pay me to take that chance again. But I learned, I learned about a whole bunch of other things, in the process.
So we can't give you $20 to go play that gig?
Hell no. Not for that gig.
So maybe, and y'all come from different schools. I mean, Walter and Drew, y'all are Kennedy people. We got Virgil representing St. Aug.
Sending us some Marching 100.
Do you want to talk maybe a little bit about those school rivalries and kind of reaching across them? Well, I know you do. Do you want to talk about kind of, reaching across the school boundaries?
Yeah, I think for the rest of the guys in the band, it's a rivalry for them. For me, it's not really a rivalry. I do know that St. Augustine Marching 100 is the best band in the land, and so we have to make sure that that stands. So I think what started with the culture in New Orleans that made us so competitive as far as music is concerned, because it was bred into us at a young age. even when you're like 7 years old, they put a horn in your hand. The intent for us as high schoolers, well, in middle school we learned the craft, and we learned the craft from a lot of musicians that we didn't know were really good musicians until we got older. So we used to be like, man, why are they so hard on us? Because they really were good musicians and they knew what it took to get to that point. I think for us in high school, I say this all the time, we were more popular than athletes in New Orleans. So to this day, you can talk to any of our high school members and they will tell you, oh, you were the drum major. Oh, I remember you played trombone. You know, you were the best trumpet player, not the star athlete. They remember us. And it's a continuous thing for New Orleans. And even when you ask someone from New Orleans, like, what school did you attend? They're going to say their high school, not the university. They're going to say St. Aug, Kennedy, you know, wherever. You know, they're going to say those things. And I think that rivalry helped us produce the type of musicians that we have. We're really competitive. And I think that competitiveness was shown, that actually helped form our band because it was two rival bands. We're actually three, you know, that were put together that, you know, traditionally in New Orleans, we don't really like each other, but we like each other outside of band. And I think that the competitiveness came with us, the different breed that we have as musicians in New Orleans is that when we put an instrument in our hand, it's almost like a weapon for us. We're trying to destroy the person on the other side.
Right.
And it's not, and that's metaphorically, we're trying to do that. Like, I want to be better than you, and you're going to hear that I'm better than you.
Right.
And then after I play, I'm going to let you know verbally that I'm better than you. And we're going to make that be known. So that was always our test was always every weekend. It wasn't like we're waiting for some big concert to happen in order to, you know, give you the grade. It was a weekly thing, so we had to be on your game. So I think that's what was important for us as being like young adults.
Well, you bringing me back to there was a one instance where is that I think it was our junior year. It was Kennedy versus St. Aug game, football game.
Let's talk about freshman year and senior.
My senior year.
Look, no, so we're going at it. Was, you know, it was one of the Kennedy St. Aug game. We going at it, of course, but we had a gig at midnight. You know, the Stooges had a gig at midnight. So we wind up just adjourning to our prospective schools, and we had to just make a mad dash to the gig. So we get to the gig, and you know, Kennedy Cats looking at the St. Aug Cats, and the St. Aug Cats looking at the Kennedy Cats, and then just bust out with laughter because we was ready to just talk shit to each other. So it was one of those type of situations, and it just kind of reminded me of that. Man, bro, man, whatever, y'all played junk, you know. We understood, you know, what it was that we were. We were actual brotherhood, but you know, brothers fight, and brothers, you know, we go at it. So you know, it was one of those things that's in my head that always kind of comes up when we talk about, you know, where we come from in the rivalry.
Yeah, it was hard because even though we was the rival school, it's our friends are over there, and then you have your band members at your school that looking at you like you fraternizing with the enemy, and it was complicated. I mean, it was very complicated because, you know, I remember one time when Christmas and Buzz got into it, and these are two snare drummers. One was a section leader for Kennedy, and the other one was a section leader for St. Aug at the time. And I mean, they getting into it where it's like, looked like they were almost about to fight at a parade, and we standing there like, who we gonna help? This is a hell of a situation. Let's just try to calm this down or something, because
how are we gonna do this? Yeah, you know, and that's the type of situations we was in, because we was always competing, you know. So it's like, if we're gonna fight, we're gonna fight. Now what side we have?
Need buzz for the gig.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, if we beat him up, then we can't make no money. But if we help him, then
We gotta deal with the rest of the band.
they got like 200 people might jump us.
The challenging calculus of being a band leader.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, I wish I wasn't here. You know, so those type of things. But it was fun.
So, like, I mean, kind of changing tracks a little bit. You know, histories are often written when things are over. You know, like a history book is usually, you know, about something that has already transpired. But I mean, the story of the Stooges is very much an ongoing story. You know, do you think there's something important about getting your story out? You know, kind of while you're here, making sure that like everybody gets their flowers. You know, can you maybe talk a little bit about that? You know, maybe you too, Mike, or you know, what's the importance? Like, you know, do you think?
Hold up, who getting their flowers? I'm getting flowers?
No, but I mean, you know, but like,
Not for me.
but I mean, you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm saying. I mean,
I'm messing with you. For us,
I'll get you some lilies.
when Alfred came to me about writing a book, and I was like, man, we musicians, we not writers. And so the goal was, because we could always put out music or whatever, but like, who's gonna tell our story? You know, like all these different events that we've been through in life, like what they gonna do, just die when we die? You know, so it was like, all right, we should put them in a book. And that's where the book come from. Like, all right, we still progressing, but like, let's just take accountability from where we came from to where we at. And just be grateful that we made it.
Yeah.
Cause we've been in some rough situations, you know, like, I mean, we've been in some near death situations, starting from the $15 stuff that we shouldn't have did. But, you know, cause like back in those days in these projects in New Orleans, it was rough, man. And people would really just pull a gun out and tell you to play. And we was very blessed to like navigate through that, know how to communicate with people and be like, hey, listen, we come to play and we want to get paid first. Not after the gig, we're gonna get our money right now. And what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna jump on people's cars. We're not gonna do all this crazy stuff that we're known for doing. And when these things happen, the music stops. And if the music keeps stopping, we're gonna walk off. And we're not scared of your guns, because believe it or not, we got guns too. For no money, we had to deal with that for some years of our lives. That was...
And I just want to add to, like, I know we're saying the things that we had to go through, but we really weren't that type of people. You know, we had to protect ourselves in the environment that we were in, and that was just the lie of the land of what we were going to do.
Yeah, we weren't gangsters.
Yeah.
We were just trying to be protected.
Yeah, like
he went to St. L. He ain't a gangster.
Come down from that. Come down from that.
He's not even a real knight.
Would you acknowledge me?
Well, one of those things made me think about it is that, I think our saving grace was we didn't come from the stereotypical, black environment per se. The stereotypical black environment that, that's just, worn into the ground. The narrative is that, you come from a single parent home, you didn't make no money, or you were, ingratiated in the drug game, or, something of that nature. Most of us, the majority of us had both of our parents living at home, or, fathers like really in our lives. So we went in with a head on our shoulders into an environment where the stereotypical, black narrative, was abundant. And so I think that was our saving grace, because you know they would come in and we get that hand on our shoulder from time to time. Son, where you going? You know, what you doing? Look out for, and that type of thing. So I think that we had a lot of we had a lot of hands on our shoulders. We had a lot of people who raised us in a way that, you know, made us mindful of who we are, and we're not the statistic that, you know, we're made out to be. I think that was it.
We changed. I think we changed. I'm gonna give him some props, Walter.
Give me my flowers.
Yes. Yes. I think the most important thing for me was that the change that he did was he changed this into a business and not a hustle. So when we first started, it was a hustle. He changed it to a business. And he made it a point that it was going to turn it into a business. And that's what we have today. And so it's not like we just have the band that's just playing. Like, I've learned so many things from him as my peer about business, how to deal with people, how to deal with just corporate entities, how to navigate this thing called life when you're trying to do something to support your family, and what's important. Because I can say, I'm not going to dress a certain way for a gig, and then we lose that gig. Or do I say, I really don't want to dress this way? We all really don't want to dress this way. But we're going to do it because this is the springboard for something else. And we're going to make sure that we're going to utilize that, or we're going to milk it to death. You know, we're going to use it. And so that's what he taught me about business, and not being shy. And there's one thing that he told me, this is the last thing I'm going to say good about him today. One thing he told me, he said, man, you got to walk into this place like you're supposed to be there, even though you're not supposed to. So every time we went somewhere, I always walked like Walter. Like I was supposed to be in there. And they were like, oh yeah, you want something to drink? I was like, yeah, sure. You know, so that was the thing that, so
the ballrooms that we were too young to be in.
Yeah, definitely. Nah, but what it taught us in this book for so many years is how we didn't go to school for music business. We didn't go to school for business like that, you know. So we street life. We learned from trial and error. You know, I only became a good leader because of these guys that sit next to me. You know, hey, I ain't like what you did. Hey, that was good. Hey, don't do that. You know, like so like a lot of people look at you like you lead the band. Like you walk in dictatorship, like do this, do. It's not like that. You lead the band from how am I helping? You know, what can I improve on? All right, maybe I said this wrong. All right, cool. You know, and having this band of brothers next to me for so many years, you know, have helped me guide us, you know, to make these decisions of where we are today, and also help raise younger band members, you know, like that probably didn't come from our situation where we had our mothers and fathers. Some of them come from single mothers, some of them come from no parents, you know, and we bring them into the band and we help develop them as young men and teach them manhood. And that was never the plan, but somehow, some way, we turned into a band of brothers, like a whole brotherhood, like a fraternity or something. And we was never set out to do that. We just wanted to play music. But over these years, we have a lot of band members who have came through the Stooges, and most of them, a lot of them play in other bands today. But the brotherhood that we have, we remain strong. And that's because I think of the founding guys in the band, like we was all brothers, you know. And we learned from each other, you know. I only learned how to be a leader because I had some stronger brothers next to me that kept pushing me. You know, like even when I failed and I was not doing good, they would pick me up and keep pushing me. And I was like, oh, they crazy, but I'm gonna keep going. So just as much as they might say they learned from me, I learned from all of them, and I'm still learning.
I mean, you know, one thing that I know that I learned from you, Walt, is accountability, you know, as a leader, you know, kind of being being able to kind of, you know, be responsible for a group of people, you know, which is not an easy thing to do, you know. Like I remember you saying at one point, you know, anything good or bad, you know, the kind of buck stops with you. You know, it's gonna.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah, regardless, you know. And some of it might be, you know, just rumors, or you know, might not even be a true thing, or might not be you, but because of kind of people's association with the Stooges, or you know, that sort of thing, like that kind of, you know, the buck stops there, right? I wanted to kind of bring Mike into the fold too. I mean, so for those who don't know Mike, Mike Jones, a more recent addition to the band, plays keys, not a brass band instrument per se. But I wanted to kind of, you know, ask you about, you know, what have you learned from Walter from being in the Stooges over time?
How y'all doing? Big bro, just basically just, like you said, accountability. Just knowing how to really just be a man at the end of the day. I've been in this band for about 10 years now. It's been a good time. You know, we've had ups and downs with it, but I learned to keep going no matter what. I've witnessed, well, on his high horse, I've seen him when he's going through things. One thing that I can say that I admire about him, one time he was in Russia, I think that was what, 2018? 18 he was in Russia. And my mother had a heart attack when I was in Russia, and I was panicking. I'm like, oh man, I gotta get on the plane. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get home to be back with my mom. And like a few days before we left Russia, Walt's mother passed away. And I think his mother passed away, but I think we did a few shows before I actually found out. And he never missed a beat. Like I didn't see. Not saying that he wasn't sad up, he wasn't, you know, grieving, but I didn't see that energy stop. You know, he always keep going. And that taught me, you know, no matter what you're going through in life, that you can always keep going. No matter what's the hardest test that's put in front of you, you know, you can always keep going. And he taught me the business, he taught me a lot about business also. I just recently started my own band and putting up with band members. I mean, the Stooges, we had about 30, 40 band members per se. I only have 5 to 6, and it's a headache. It's a headache. So, I mean, I call him and ask him advice about my band, and just keep growing and just to keep growing. So, it's been a great 10 years, and like I said, I don't know how you do it, bro.
So I want to credit like the band directors that we had. Like for me to get through my mom's situation and know that I had a job to do in Russia, and you know, and it was, you know, my mom died from cancer, and she was, you know, and for me to get through that, I have to credit my band directors, all the great band directors that taught our high schools back in our days. They taught us this. I never forget. My band director was Walter Doc Harris, and he was telling us that you have a job to do. You go do your job, and no matter what, you can't. He said this to us in school. If they called you and told you one of your parents died, you have a job to do. Do your job, do it well. You're not a doctor. You can't save them. You can't do nothing. You could come back and you could be with them and you could grieve after that. And we had a lot of shows in Russia, and I got the phone call saying my mom not gonna make it. And I was like, I remember what Doc said, I have a job to do. You know, they gonna hold her body till I get back home and we have a proper funeral and stuff. But I have a job to do, and I focus on that, you know, and I credit the band directors for that, right? Because it was strong men that taught us how to be strong.
I just want to pick up maybe on one thing that you said there about grieving, you know, because I think, you know, so much of brass band music, you know, is about grieving, you know, it's about kind of getting through that process. And I was just wondering about, you know, I know certainly my attraction to brass band music, or, you know, one of the things that brought me in, when I was little, I had a lot of people die in my life, and my mom didn't let me go to the funerals. She was like, nah, you're too young for that sort of thing, you know? And for me, like, to see, like, public grief, you know, like to experience something where everybody's kind of grieving together and it brings the community together. Can you maybe kind of talk about the music and in that sort of way, you know, how it kind of helps kind of forge communal ties and
well, I think that's the biggest connection that we have that created this culture that we call it brass band culture. We call it second line culture. It, you know, now its origins are in the jazz funeral and that type of thing, but I think it goes a little further back because it invokes the spirit of joy. You know, which seems kind of, you know, when you try to explain it, it doesn't sound right, but it's included in the joy because, you know, we often look at life on earth in the physical being as being a burden from time to time. Well, for most of our time, you know, we have those little inklings of joy. So when somebody passes, you know, to be with the Maker or whomever, you know, it's a celebratory thing because, you know, you're not dealing with the ills of this earth. And so I think that is the connection that we have. And, you know, because the roots are so deep here in New Orleans, because we are such a melting pot, we're such a, you know, we're such a celebratory, you know, community of culture. We've been that way for generations. I just think that part of the thing that, you know, we talk about grieving and everything else, it's not necessarily grieving. It's a joyous occasion that, you know, you've done your job and now it's time for you to go on home, you know, to be in peace.
Right.
And so it's always been that. I mean, that part of us is not any different than the ancestors who came before us. So you know, it's just a part of the culture, and if you are going to be a part of the culture, that is the standpoint that you take. You know, mainly because you can feel it.
Right.
You don't have to like say anything. You can feel it, like you can feel it all over.
I remember one time in our music career, we used to play a lot of funerals like every Saturday morning, and
Every Saturday morning.
Yeah, every Saturday morning. And a lot of these people we don't know. We just there to make the money. And,
Pretty much.
No, I'm serious. It was just like we there to make the money. And I think it got bad one time when we started playing, and we don't know these people, but we started crying.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hold up. This taking too much toll on us.
Yeah, it is.
Like, hold up,
What is this?
Yes, why is we feeling this? Andrew, I think we doing too many of these funerals. You niggas need to stop right here. I don't need to be crying for somebody I don't know.
That's right. It's just, and another thing too, just to piggyback off what you said, it's just something about this culture and this music that we have that is brass band music, second line music. You know, it started, you know, with the first line, you know, for the families, you know, so you get the family grief, you know, they can come out, they grieve. And then the second line is for, you know, we gonna party, we gonna have a good time. But even on Sundays, it's like we have a second line on Sundays, and it's like, it's just something about the culture. Like, it doesn't matter what you're going through that week. You know, your bills could be late, you know, this one that broke up with you, my mom's sick, this one, it's like life problems could be happening. But on Sunday, when you see that band strike up and they come out that door, and it's just a joyous occasion. So for 4 hours on a Sunday, you don't have to worry about anything. We're gonna have a good time, you know. Most times I go to the second line, get dropped off. I don't even worry about a ride because somebody I know out there is gonna be able to bring you home, you know. So it just comes with, I've never been to another place in the world that celebrates life the way we celebrate it. So just to piggyback on what you were saying about, you know, the brass band music, you know.
I brought up another memory about this. You know, in New Orleans, we celebrate life in all facets. I remember we did, I mean, it's tragic, but, you know, it's interestingly funny at the same time. I remember we did a funeral for a guy, for his dog. We did a guy for his dog. He was fighting his dog, and his dog died in the dog fight. but he made so much money off the dog from fighting, he decided to get the band. He tried to get the band, to strike up the band for his dog, to celebrate his dog, celebrate his dog's life. We got there to play. We didn't even know, we didn't know what was happening. We just saw the picture of the dog on everybody's t-shirts. That we were like, are we second lining for a dog? Are we really doing this? Are we really doing this? Pretty dog, pretty blue. Now, what made it so tragic was that 6 months later, we were second lining for him. And, you know, he got caught in the crossfire for something, and, you know, he lost his life. And so we got there, and everybody had his picture on the t-shirt, you know. But it's just interesting about how, and, you know, how people celebrate life. And, you know, it's a very valuable lesson about, you know, what people hold near and dear to their hearts and to their, you know, to their minds and all that other good stuff. So.
Well, since Spug just rolled up, I just, you know, we're kind of, you know, just in the middle of the conversation, but I was wondering, you know, like, you're now playing Big Six, Rebirth. What did you learn from the guys in the Stooges? You know, like what kind of foundation, or if they did provide a foundation, you know, what was that? You know, and yeah.
Everyone can hear me.
This is Clifton, Spug, Smith, everybody.
I learned everything from the Stooges within those 7 to 8 years. Everything.
Pretty much. I mean, what yeah. Can you say more, Spug? Say more.
You know, I'm a person with short words. Very short words.
You can read them in the book. Pretty short. They're short, but they're good. They're good.
Short. Pretty much the basics of the horn and the lead role of the sousaphone and the brass band. Lead notes, thirds, fourths, chromatically, just how to really get to the founding note that you're looking for. There's multiple ways you can get there as a bass player, and I learned that here. Yeah, that's short.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good. You know, direct and to the point.
So basically, the Stooges is responsible for Big Six bass line. Gotcha.
Now that you've kind of opened up that can of worms there, Mike, can some people maybe speak on sort of the rivalries between brass bands? You know, I mean, you know, obviously, like, with most of the brass bands in the city, you're gonna have people that came through the studio. I mean, just about all of them, really, with the exception of the Pinettes. You know, so like, but at the same time, there is a rivalry. You know, I don't know if it's not really a holdover from schools or anything, but there might be a little bit of that in there too. We got a competition over the microphones here. Who wants to pick that one?
I will start first. It's
Okay.
all Walter's fault.
So look, when I joined the band, and one of the reasons why I wanted to join the band, I was teaching at a high school, and they actually performed one time. You know, I knew the cats already. Alfred Lauderdale's High School, that's where I was at, on Andrew Street. So I was teaching there, and they came and played, and I was like, you know, so we're highly competitive. So birds of a feather flock together. These cats here, they'll make anybody mad. And I like that because it was good for the business. So it gets people going. Like there was nothing going on. Like it was provocative. Yes, it was. So there were really no beefs per se between the bands, but we would create them to create our own area in which people will come out to see the nothingness that we created as far as the beef that we created. And so that was our draw. I also like that the music that we played, I don't want to say it in that manner, who I am. The music was a little bit more technical than other bands. So we kind of use that to say, you're garbage and we're not.
Yeah.
And we would play things that we knew that they could not play because we wanted them to feel bad about themselves. And so that started our whole thing about, and so you have to go back to when we were in high school. That was our intent then. You play something across the field, oh, I got something for that. This should sit you down. We were trying to sit people down in every parade. It didn't matter. We didn't care who you were, Rebirth, anybody could get it. And even if we didn't succeed, it was the fact that you came down to fight us. So that's great for us, publicity-wise. You don't fight down, you fight up. And I'm like, yeah, they're giving us some type of credibility, and we're gonna take that and we're gonna show the world who we are based off of what we did.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, I think, it's who we are.
And I mean, social media's played into a lot of, it's like diss tracks and like hip hop or something,
It's who we are.
Firing back and forth sort of.
Yeah, we gonna probably fire the first shot.
And we managed.
Yeah. I think it's for me, I grew up trying to start this band for a long time, and I was always pushed aside. So I had like real personal vendettas with other bands I've done. I'm like, because they treated me as an outcast, because I wasn't from a neighborhood called the Sixth Wall, the Tremaine neighborhood, and so I was always the outcast. Even though my grandfather, my family, everybody relevant in the neighborhood, but not me playing music. So I was like, I'm gonna start a band, and I'm gonna put all y'all out of business. And one day, I remember saying this at a Crew de Vous parade, like the very first one we ever played. All the bands, we was at the last band, all the bands waited till we got to the end of the parade and went to fussing at us about all kind of stuff. We don't like how y'all dress. We don't like y'all underbid, we think. We don't like how y'all play music because y'all playing all that technical local stuff that we don't like. They just started they gave us all the stuff that they don't like. And I was so mad. I was like, I stood on top of a car and told them, first, if y'all don't like us, we can fight. We're from the Ninth Wall and we fight. But secondly, I'm gonna put all y'all out of business. I promise y'all, this will be my personal life goal. I'm gonna put all y'all out of business. And it was all standing there. I was like, one day, y'all gonna come to me and y'all gonna ask me for gigs and I'm gonna throw this back in your face. Sure enough, it's my name Walter, because I'm that petty. So, long story short, they all need gigs from me now, and some of them I just don't hire. I'll be like, I told you. Let's try next week, call me up.
Don't put no names on there.
Shoot, but I don't care. Call me up, try next week, we'll try again. If you're looking, the Stooges in all the best bands in the city, you're not working. You're not working.
But then we had the second line down for 3 years straight.
Yeah, I mean,
no band had the second, no band played the second one.
So I mean, there was a time when y'all were on the streets. I mean, y'all were running that, from every single Sunday.
Every single
You want to talk about a little bit about that, and also how that's really hard, menial labor. That is a tough thing to do.
You pass it to Spug.
Yep.
Yeah. Spug was out there Sunday.
Very hard work. Really, for real. Yes. Just wear and tear on the body with those 4 hours, multiple years doing it is wear and tear on the body. I had went through my process, bloody shirts, lip bust, all that, multiple times. But now, it feels better. Mm-hmm. It still works, but it feels better.
Yeah, because you still play the parades.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Wait, why does it? Wait, why does it feel better?
I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm the man now.
You are? You are. There you go. I came out there and I saw you and I was like, man, like I felt like a proud dad. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
I remember a few years ago, we were in the second line. I think it was one of the Stooges' last second line. I remember we was coming up Elhart, and Spug was late. Like they was waiting on Spug. So Spug finally shows up with the tuba. I turned back to look at Walt. Walt taking his tuba, walking to the car. I'm like, Walt, where you going? I'm too old for this shit.
Look, first of all, we hired Spud to take my place. Because I had to have surgery. And so it used to be just one tube on the street and for all the bands. And so I was like, man, we got Spud, younger. He gonna come with power. Spud drove all the way from Texas every week to play in the band. And so he was just taking my spot. So, but he had to learn the music, so Ursel thought it was a smart way to just play with two tubas. He gonna learn it. You know, he catch on fast. And then that became the thing, two tubas. I'm like, hold up. Yeah, now y'all want two tubas every Sunday? He was coming to take my spot. I was ready to go. Like, now I still gotta play. But we did that and we changed the culture. Like the one thing about the Stooges, we weren't the first brass band to play, but we was one of the innovative brass bands on this culture. We changed a lot of things about our culture. We always pushed the envelope of when people told us we couldn't do it, we always come back and say, why not? Like, why we can't do this? And we done that, you know, on every level of the music, the business, you know, because before us, like, trying to play a brass band member and a check was like, what? What is this? Yeah. Like, I remember when I first started handing out checks and the other bands look at me like, you crazy? You lost your mind? What's wrong with you? We know you're crazy. We know you're strange, but like, you think you're gonna pay your guys in a check every week? I was like, yeah, it's a business. Oh man, we caught so much flack from it. It was like, but today, all the bands operate in business, and we push that. You know, another thing I pushed back in the days that people thought was crazy as was ownership of stuff. I was like, how long you been playing this music, and you don't own a house? No, we can't do that. You gotta own your cars, you gotta own your house. And we was like one of the first generations of this band, like we pushed that issue, you know, and every time we brought band members in, we taught them different things. Like, you're not just coming here and play music and then go home. Then you haven't learned nothing with us. We need you to learn the music, learn how to be a business person, learn everything about it. Like learn what we learn everything, so you can be a better man for your family. You have kids, you have to do this with it. You know, like this how we doing fatherhood in this band. We all want to take care of our kids. I don't care if you made that kid, it's your responsibility to take care of it. That was like mandatory for us, you know. And I'm proud, like, to see all these guys that come through this band, and I watch them with their kids, and it's amazing. Like, it's certain things that we never set out. Like, this how we gonna run this organization. It just happened to fall in place like that. So, pretty cool.
And not to say that we didn't have no help. Let's just put that out there also. Because, you know, Walter's mom was commonly known as Nana. Not only was she the Nana to Walt's kids, but she was Nana to everybody's kids. And everybody was
my mom.
Yeah. And so, like, whenever the band had gigs and, you know, the wives and girlfriends wanted to go along, Nana kept the kids. You know, and I think that's one of those things that we learn in our generation that maybe this new generation doesn't know as much about. You know, about the importance of grandparents, you know, being in your lives and being that extra help that, you know, that your parents might have needed. You know, in order just for them to breathe, just for them to, you know, to be able to do things as an adult, you know. And so, like, we look at, and that's why I say, you know, big ups to you know, to Dimitri, Harris, Nana, commonly referred to as Nana. Yeah, it's everybody's Nana, you know. And so I think, you know, it's I think the reason why we would go so hard is because we knew what our springboard was. And so, you know, if you already have a springboard, you've already have a pedestal to jump from, you know, you need to take all your energy, all your power, all your might to take that leap and make sure it's successful. Because there's so many people that are behind you.
I mean, and also, I mean, your mother was the band's first manager.
Band's first manager,
maybe,
yes.
You know, I don't know. You talked a little bit about you know, Walt's mother. I mean, if somebody wants to talk about Pat a little bit. Or...
Okay, man, my mother, Patricia Baham, she passed away in September of 2020. Cancer, same thing, that dreaded C word. But yeah, she served as the first manager. Because all she really wanted to do was to make sure that, you know, we were getting our money and, you know, like business was being done. You know, and I think that's what motivated Walt to, you know, kind of take the reins, you know, because it was like, you know, we don't want our mamas doing our, you know, business for us, you know, that type of thing.
Sometimes we need them.
Yeah, sometimes we need them. Sometimes, oh, trust me, sometimes we need them.
Remember my mama went and got that money?
Oh yeah, I was about to tell that story right quick.
What is the story?
Okay, so basically we did there was a well-known, infamous, you know, dope dealer that was out of the which one? The Lafitte, out the Lafitte project. Now, he was well-known, he was well relegated, and so up to his funeral, they had a second line band play a parade every night, the night for the week before. So like literally seven parades, you know, whichever. And it got down time to the actual funeral day. We played the funeral. I mean, they had to be at least maybe 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 people there that was just there. And, you know, after we finished, we're waiting on our money. Walt's mama, Nana, was hitting him on the beeper, you know, trying to get her car, because we was using her car. So, so he managed to find a phone and call her back. Ma, we're waiting on our money. You know, they said it was coming with our money. All right, 30 minutes passed, 45 minutes passed. She blowing up the beeper, you know, like what's going on. And he was like, Ma, you know, look, we just waiting on the money. Just like, you know, we just waiting on the money to say it was coming. Somebody coming. She said, okay, don't worry about it. I don't know who she called. She called somebody else to give her a ride out there to where we were at. Found the mama of the deceased and said, look, if you don't get my boys their money, there's gonna be another funeral about to happen. Man, go ahead on, Dimitri, go ahead on, be good, be good. Like, you gonna get my boys their money, and 5 minutes later, the money came. So it's, we're grateful for just the people in our corner who just is like, we're gonna fight. You're gonna fight for my boys. And I said, that's where my mom was, you know, she's like, no, I wanna make sure y'all business is straight to where at least y'all gonna get your money. You know, she didn't take a cut, and we used all the cars. My daddy had to fix the cars on a weekly basis, because we would use them, because we would do 10 gigs on a Saturday. And so, you know, you wear the cars out, you know, and there's 6 of us piling in a sedan, you know, a 4-person sedan with instruments, with drums and tuba in the trunk, and the trunk goes open, you know. So, you know, it's one of those things. And so my mom, but at the end of the day, all my parents really wanted was, you know, just for us to be successful at what we do. And I think that goes for all of us. It's just like, our parents just wanted us to just be successful at what we do. My mom was no different. But right before my mom died, we told her, you know, there was the book is getting ready to come out. She was like, I want my copy. And is what, 2 weeks before she passed, you know, she was like, I want my copy. So Walt found whatever copy he could find, and you know, he just brought it to her. He made sure that everybody signed it for her and everything else. And you know, she was so good and so grand, you know, because I think is, you know, and I've felt that feeling, you know, kind of like recently, now that I'm a little older, and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I taught you, and I taught you, and I taught you, and now look at you. You know, you look good, you sound good, you know, it gives you that feeling like, it's like, okay, I've done something in the world, you know, and so now I understand that feeling, you know, when my mom, you know, she could hardly see by that time, you know, because the cancer just was really made itself, you know, it got real aggressive, and so she didn't want any chemo or anything like that. She just was like, you know, just take me home, you know, call everybody to come and see me and everything else. And so the whole band came to see her and talk with her, and, you know, and just, you know, that type of thing, you know, because, you know, you just got to give them their flowers while they're still here, you know. And like I said, I don't think that feeling is, I think we all on the stage at this point have had that feeling, was that we've been able to water something that actually grew. And so, you know, I think that was my mom, that one of the last kind of memories that I'm gonna have about my mom is that, you know, when she saw that book, you know, she was so excited and so elated. She even kind of stood up, you know, sat up. She even kind of sat up, and, you know, she wanted to talk about all of the times when, you know, all of the characters, you know, all of the characters that we've encountered as doing business with. Because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't see, is that, you know, there are a lot of characters in New Orleans. You know, we can write a book just about all of the characters and their spirit, you know, and that type of thing, you know, that is in New Orleans. And so, you know, being the band, you're going to encounter all of them. And my mom had a number of encounters with those characters, because, you know, she would go and do the business. So, you know, it's like I said, I'm now starting to feel that feeling, and you know, it's a great feeling. So it's like, you know, you made something of yourself. I'm glad I helped. You know?
Yeah. Maybe I'm just wondering. Okay, I'll ask like maybe a couple more questions. Then we'll move on to like Q&A if anyone wants to chat. You know, open it up a little bit. The 5 of you that are here. I was just, you know, like, what are some things that you want like younger brass band musicians to know, especially? Is there anything in this book that you think is, you know, particularly important for them to know? Or, you know, like, what are some of the challenges maybe that are facing brass band musicians right now, and kind of speak to that a little bit?
I think what I want the younger cats to understand is to respect, even though we did our own thing, we did respect the past. So we did take what was done in the past, and we kind of put our own spin on it, and also to understand the struggle on what makes this music what it is. And it's not just a hustle, it's a hustle with a culture behind it, and you can turn that hustle into a business and support yourself. And you don't have to do it in the most grimiest ways, but you can do it in a grimy situation. So, but you don't have to be part of that situation. You're just a musician. And not just saying just a musician, you're a musician. You don't have to be part of what's going on out there. You can be your own individual. Like, we're not like other brass bands. Like, you know, he speaks of characters. All of us are different characters inside the band. So you don't have, and we're kind of like unique in which how we, like my mother knows all of those guys. And like when I call her, she lives in Mobile. She's like, how's Walter? I'm like, man, I'm doing fine, mother. So they ask us, like, so we all are family. And I think that's what people like them. When other band members see us that have not been inside, they look at us and be like, man, y'all always together. Y'all always look like y'all having fun. Y'all always look like y'all getting paid good money, even though sometimes we may not. Yeah. We just, even in a bad situation, we're going to laugh. Like, So, and I think that's what's important is the family aspect of what's going on with that, with the book, and understanding like we all came from different walks of life, and we all still playing in the same band over 20 years. That is like huge.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things about the band. We promoted fun first, you know, fun, then music, and then the money. But fun, because if it's not fun, then who wants to do it, you know? It's like we started off always playing music from a young child just because it was fun to do. And as long as we keep that in the Stooges, we knew that we could sustain, you know, like it's fun first. When it stopped being fun, I quit. I don't want to do it. But, and that's what helped our characters, you know, even now when we still perform, but then you got other bands that branched off from the Stooges and had their bands, and they out here competing with each other, and they having fun. And when you see them doing what we did, it'd be like, it's still fun. You know, I don't have to play the second lines no more because I'm older now. I can't physically do it, like, cause I just. But when I go out there, I remember I went to a parade a couple of weeks ago and I saw Spug. Spug was on the sideline with the people, and it was just like, it just brought back that feeling like, man, this is fun, you know? Like, and Spug didn't even see me, but I saw Spug and I was just like, I was eating it up. I was like, yes. You know, it's that feeling like, you know, it's gonna keep going for generations, you know, and everybody can still enjoy it. Oh, go.
And lastly, I mean, you want to go? All right, go.
Look, he's got to take the last word.
I'm taking last. I'm taking up go last.
I just want to say, anybody that's looking at this in the future, musicians, try anything that you feel. Put it out, lay it down, record it. It's gonna be in history. We can always go back to it. Your peers may not like it, but somebody in the world may like it.
And you know, and I wanted to summarize it because at the end of the day, it's like what I want, you know, the next generations to get out of this is just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey, because when you look back at it and you have the stories to tell, you know, that in itself, you know, justifies the way you lived your life. You know, especially if you come back on the other side, you know, victorious or successful, or just happy, or just plain happy. Like again, we all did this because we loved it and we enjoyed it and we were happy, you know. And so that is literally the only thing that has kept us alive. You know, we lost a lot of just musicians, period, in New Orleans because of the depression that comes behind the lifestyle that they live. And, you know, we've always kept an optimistic, you know, approach, not only just to playing the music, but to life. And so because we kept that optimistic approach to life, the optimistic approach to music, you know, was fun because we were doing it because we loved it. We didn't do it just because it was a means to an end. And so I think that the biggest thing, or one of the most important things you could take out of the reading the book is just enjoy the journey, because you don't know where it's going to take you, first and foremost. But enjoy the ride, because, you know, it's going to bring you back home. You ain't got to really worry about that.
Anybody else? Okay. Maybe if we want to open it up to questions, does anybody have anything that they, yeah?
You spoke about the innovations, you know,
Oh, I'm sorry. Make this work.
All right. You spoke earlier about the innovations y'all brought to the culture, the two tubas, the way you do the business. I'm just curious, from all y'all, like, innovations that you see that y'all brought to the culture, to the brass band culture, to the second line culture, to, you know, things y'all do that are different, that you appreciate that difference, and that you see it has changed the culture beyond just the Stooges.
Yeah. So, The two tubas. Everybody out here playing today with two tubas or more.
3 tubas.
Yeah, 3 tubas.
That's the standard.
Yeah, so that was good because the tuba player need help. The business of the brass bands. My mom is Nana, who we speak of. I could remember my mom used to always tell me, son, once I graduated, she was like, what you about to do with your life? You going to college? She saved up 10 grand for me to go to college. She was like, knowing there wasn't enough money, but still, she was like, I saved up this $10,000 for you to go to school. And I remember telling her, like, man, I'm not going to no school. I play music. I play brass band music. And she was like, son, this is a hobby. The guys go to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and on the weekend they play music. It is a hobby. You have to go to school. And I was like, it's not a hobby, man. What if we play on Monday through Friday, you know, and make money? She was like, tell you what, you know how to cut hair. You should go to barber school. She was like, you should figure out how to go to barber school. So I was like, all right. And as she saw me changing this into a business, and like this was the hardest thing ever, because you're taking something that never been structured and trying to put structure to it just for me to prove to my mama it's a business, you know, and for us to actually grow as a business. You know, like, so you go to a band, like an older band out here, and you be like, hey man, well, what you paid your guys? You paid them in a check? You gonna 1099 them? You gonna W-2s? What you do? And they looking at me like, the hell is you talking about? You know, like, all right, how you incorporated your business? We're a band. We just play music. And so having Andrew as a good friend of mine, who he was always innovative of reading books, and I ain't used to like to read then. And he bought a music business book, and he gave me the book, and I had to read it. And then when I finished that book, he gave me another book, and I was just like, all right. So I'm learning a lot about music business, and so we was building that structure of music business and learning business at the same time, and just going through around with different people and different other businesses, taking it in until I think the first group of brass band musicians that I was pretty much able to probably convince that we should be doing this was the Soul Rebels. Andrew and Big Sam played in the Soul Rebels, and I used to always go around. I ain't playing in a band, I just be around with them. And I used to sit at the tables and talk to them and be like, yeah, I paid my band members $40 this week in checks. He was like, how much? I said, we all made $40 in a check. He said, I gotta keep laughing. Because I remember them sitting at the table, they was like, so Winston was like, so let me get this right, Walt. You gave everybody $40, not cash, but a check. He said, how many of them got bank accounts? I said, I don't know. He said, you know they're gonna charge you money to cash that check, huh? I said, yeah, they probably will. I was like, so they made what, $30-some now? But, you know, they kept calling me crazy. They was like, you crazy. But after a while, it caught on. And that's how brass bands are today, you know. Was everybody doing real legit business, paying taxes. You know, people buying houses now because they're able to show their money and stuff like that. But back then, I was still crazy, you know. It was like, you crazy.
Nice big 6 chains and all.
Well, to go into, I think part of it was the fact that we were looking around, and there were so many New Orleans musicians, in general, not only just brass band, who didn't have life affairs in order. And so you know, like I say, I come from a pretty, I would say, affluent household, and you know, those were the important things. And so Walt knew that also because his family, they put the emphasis on those type of life things that all of us, you know, kind of just need to have, or you know, it's just very advantageous to have. And so we're like, wait a minute, you don't have a bank. I mean, like I've encountered cats who didn't have a bank account, and you know, like they would just cash the check and walk around with cash all you know, everywhere. And you know, of course they would spend their cash without knowing where they spent it. You know, little things that we kind of almost took for granted because we were just trained up in that way. So we're like, nah, man, like, you know, how are you gonna set up like just a better lifestyle for yourself, you know, and your family, you know, without doing these X, Y, and Z. So I think that's where that kind of came from. The most of the innovation was just that we saw there was a lacking in the culture, and we were like, okay, well, we can't do it with everybody, so we can do it with these, you know, but we can talk these cats into doing that over here.
Melissa?
There were a couple mentions of no longer playing on the streets, on the second lines on Sundays. For you all, and I know a few bands have made that decision, but for you all, what influenced that decision?
There was a mention, or a few mentions of you all no longer playing second lines on Sundays on the streets. And I know there are a few bands that have made a purposeful decision about that. For the Stooges, what influenced that decision?
Old age. Now, first of all, we are older, and then we grateful to have the younger bands like the Big Six, you know, which majority of their band members come from the Stooges. Yeah, majority, except for maybe 1, 2, 3. 2. So it's, and by them being one of the Stooges, now they the Big Six, and they doing their own thing. It's just like, all right, we just hire the Big Six. You know, you still got some Stooges band members that was Stooges band members, but you know, they're the Big Six now, and they're the better sounding band. You know, like, I'm a realist. You know, I believe in when you have your time and you play and people could dance to you, then they're gonna have somebody else come behind you. They're gonna it's just what it is. You know, and now that these other bands then came up behind us, they better. They better at the job than us. Nah, but and then they got some people that still want us to play, and we be, one lady in particular, I remember a few years ago, they asked us to play a parade, and it was like, man, we know we're gonna need a lot of money to do that. And it was like $5,000, and they was like, yeah, we got it. I was like, whoa.
usually we say stuff like that so that people can tell us no, and we don't have to deny it.
Yeah, so then it was like, so then they came with the money, and we was like, we're sorry, we just can't go ahead. And more recently, they just came with another offer for the parade this year. I think they had 10 grand just for us to do the parade, because they want us that bad, but they want all the original guys. So I have to call the Big Six up and get those guys and get a few, you know, if you know, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. I know they have the money. They showed me the money and they wrote a check.
I'll do that.
Yeah, call me.
You call me.
This is the first they heard about it, because I think I only talked to one band member about it. I was like, say, bro, listen, they say, they came with they offered us 10 grand to come do this parade, and I haven't even talked, this is my first time actually saying it to them.
Let's talk about it.
You know, I don't know if we're gonna play that, and you know, I just,
you can stay home, Spug.
brought in a retirement.
Well, I mean, and I'm just adding to it. I just, I love the culture. I say this, I love the culture. I think we all love the culture. The culture can wear you out. Doing 4-hour second lines every Sunday for years on hand, it'll take a toll on you. And not just physically, but mentally, because you're still working. And so it's kind of like, all right, once you find that opening, be like, all right, bro, I'm out. Here you go, let daddy handle that.
I think for also the same piggyback off of what Drew said, one of my best friends who was in the band, Alfred Grove, we are known to have spirits in the middle of the second line. And that was in order to keep us, enough so that we could finish the line. When we started drinking earlier and earlier inside of the line, like 30 minutes into the second line, we're like, nah, it's just not gonna work. I got to
just so you don't feel it.
So I won't feel it. I was like, nah, I'm getting too old at this point. Let's just stop.
Understandable.
You're still out there, Spug. I mean, why haven't you retired yet?
Because I started drinking with them in the early years. I was right behind them, drinking with them. I still do the same thing. Hennessy, Red Bull.
Yes,
Before that, I'm going to get a pack of pickle juice. And make sure nothing cramps up.
You will eat breakfast.
And I'm going to have
Breakfast.
That's how I start off my morning.
It's a regimen. Anybody else have any questions before we kind of wrap things?
How old were each of you when you started playing?
How old were each of them?
I was 9 years old.
9.
I was about to say, the old joke is that, you're born, the doctor spanks you on your behind, and somebody gives you an instrument. So basically, that's New Orleans in a nutshell. So even though we didn't start playing the horn, we were in the midst of it, from birth, pretty much, because we were all engulfed in the culture. So
I was 7 when I started playing. And my grandfather was one of the members of the LitWire Brass Band. He always wanted one of his grandchildren to play, and none of them did. We all played music, but none of them really wanted to play. It was so how he got me into it. He really wanted because I was the last one. I was playing a little small piano one day. He said, you like that piano? I was like, yeah. Man showed up to my mom's house 2 days later with a piano and wrote it into the back and said, I'm gonna take you to lessons every week. I was like, you for real? Like, yeah, cancel what you're doing. This is what you're gonna do. And that's what it was.
Yeah, the same, it was kind of the same thing with me when I was, as early as I can remember. My mother was a music education major. She got a bachelor's in music education from Dillard, and but at the time, wasn't no jobs kind of open for a woman to teach instrumental music. So she got into that stuff, but there was always a piano in the house. Her flute was always accessible, and that type of thing. And so when she found out that I had an ear, that was just it. And so she's like, nope, you're gonna play music. And so yeah, that's pretty much how it all started for me too.
Yeah, I was 9, started elementary school, carrying a trombone to school. I don't even know how I got that trombone. I probably traded it for a sled drum. But me and my friend at the time, because we was in elementary school, 4th grade, and the trombone case is very heavy, especially those back then, because we ain't had gig bags, we had wood. So he'd carry the trombone the block, I carried a block, he'd carry the block, I carried the block, until we made it to school, just for me to bring the trombone to school and play. And then eventually he wound up playing the trombone when we got to middle school, but and he played middle school and high school, because I guess he got used to holding it, so he should have played, but 9 years old.
I've been playing the piano. I'm 31. I've been playing the piano since I was 5. It's crazy. My grandfather used to live in Pontchartrain Park, And he had this big piano as soon as you walk in the house. And when he walked in the house, the old school station used to be 102.9. And they had the song on the radio, I'll Take You There, with the bass line, boom, 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 boom. So I just was on the piano just figuring it out, and I figured out the bass line. So then my grandma was like, well, you gotta do something with your right hand. So it just so happened, first thing I hit was a C major chord. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I did this like every day I come home from school. I think, I get home, start getting on the piano. My grandfather comes out the back room. I'm so tired of that radio station playing, I'll Take You There. Don't they know another song to play on the radio? And my grandmother like, that ain't the radio, that's him. And he was like, oh, you going to piano lessons. You gonna get rich or you gonna die trying. So he put me in piano lessons, and I also played a little trumpet in middle school, didn't really like it. Drums, a little drums, but the piano's been my love, and I'm with the Stooges now.
All right, anyone else? Or, yeah, in the back, let me go.
This is odd.
Oh,
Going on. Speak with that. I don't
Get down from that.
Project that voice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I went to school to learn how to do it.
All right.
My question, I grew up listening to the Stooges and all the brass bands really, but I had a question, where did the name the Stooges come from? That's my first one, because I was like, I don't know, because I was just thinking, because I knew some history about other brass bands, but I never heard the story about how the Stooges came to be the Stooges. And then my second question is for Kyle. Of all the bands that you could have chosen to collaborate with, why the Stooges, and is this a part of your PhD process?
All right.
For the first one, then I'll.
First question.
Original.
Yeah. We had a guy in the band named Brian Gertis. He played trumpet. Went to Kennedy with me and Andrew. We used to practice at Brian's house, but we always would crack jokes and stuff like that. And he kind of gave the band the name Stooges or whatever, because we couldn't figure that out. Yeah, it was the Little Stooges, then the Stooges, stuff like that. We grew up, but yeah. So that come from Brian, and that's his contribution to the band, and that's it. That's all he did. He couldn't play that well, So he named the band. We keep him around just for that too.
You know they're recording this, right?
Yeah, it's okay. We always crack jokes about Brian. If he see this right now, he gonna understand. He's not gonna be upset.
And the second question, so why the Stooges? The answer to that, I knew about the Stooges when I lived up I'm Canadian, and I knew about the Stooges. Probably learned about y'all actually when I was in my undergrad, so I would have been like 18, 19, something, yeah, I don't know that I've ever told y'all about that, but I used to listen to the album and everything, the It's About Time, and I'm a trumpet player, and so I got really into brass band music. First song I heard was Casanova by The Rebirth, and that was like, whoa, what is happening here? And I was just, really excited about brass band music. As a trumpet player, it's some of the most incredible music I could ever imagine hearing, And so why the Stooges? I think it was really just because the Stooges wanted to write a book, and I got brought into the process. It was, it started, Al Grove, who's not here today, he had to work, but it was Al's idea to kind of start a book. He talks about, he gets his best ideas in the morning as soon as he wakes up, and he was like, I had a vision, and I thought that a book would be the best next step for the band. And so I got brought into the process through Matt Sakakini, who has also written about brass bands, and he was my advisor at Tulane. So I actually came down here back in 2013, and it was kind of through a love of brass band music, and then just kind of fell in with a bunch of brass bands. I wrote about the Penettes first, actually, the original Penettes brass band, and then when I got kind of linked up with the guys, I was like, oh, this sounds like an amazing story to kind of tell, and I'd love to be able to kind of, come into my own as an author, working with the guys. So yeah, and the second part of that, is it part of my PhD? It is not, actually. So I actually wrote this while doing coursework, which is a really bad idea. You should not write a book while in a PhD program if it is not your dissertation. Virgil knows. It is, so I would not advise that to anyone, but I just kind of wrote it alongside, and that would be the answer to that one.
Did we do that?
It is.
To piggyback on what Kyle said, we just adopted Kyle. Like, Kyle's our brother, he's our family. He not going nowhere, and what other band would you want to write a book about? I mean, it's the Stooges.
I guess.
I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate